Welcome to the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel. Today I'm joined by Holly Shand to have a look at Fantasy Football Hub's AI team, see how it got on in Gameweek 16 before looking ahead to Gameweek 17. Holly, it's good to have you back on the channel, first of all, I must say. Secondly, AI team, slowly but surely, it's doing okay. Maybe a slightly slower start than we probably would have hoped, but you know, it's another green arrow for the team. Not looking too bad.
Yeah, 4 consecutive green arrows. I think that might have coincided with a certain Mo Salah coming back into the team. So yeah, it feels good to be making some progress. Obviously a long way off, our ranks and where we'd hope the team to be. But, it is plugging away and it is making progress. So it just goes to show that, you need to be patient. There's a lot of the season still to be played. We've got this assistant manager chip coming in, which is going to have massive variance, which could definitely provide a boost as well. So yeah, let's see what happens.
I had Bakar on the channel yesterday, and he has had 7 green arrows in a row, going from 3 million to 250k or something.
Wow!
In just 7 weeks. He's not had like any. He had one unbelievable game week, to be fair, but apart from that, it's been pretty just consistent. The team's decent. Players are getting points. Nothing crazy. He actually got fewer points than the AI team did this week. So I suppose if you're just relatively consistent, you'll do okay. Let's have a talk through the week though. There was a sort of up and down week. I mean, some things really did go the AI's way, and I'd say maybe got a little bit fortunate. In other ways, very unfortunate. What was your assessment of it?
Yeah, I mean, the 3 premiums in midfield, which I know a lot of managers are on now, a 3 from Palmer, a 3 from Saka, and a 5 from Salah. I feel like the Salah one, we can't really judge him on that one because it was a game where Liverpool were playing with 10 men for the majority. So yeah, it was a full-on blanks really from the midfield. But then we had Isak and CUNHA in the forward line who both delivered. Although CUNHA now looks like he could be facing a ban. Aït-Nouri also suspended now, having got a red card. But Gabriel with a clean sheet and 3 bonus. Vardiol with 7 points. So yeah, there's some positives to take from the score. 56 points is decent. I mean, it outscored my team by 5 points this week.
Outscored my team by 9. Can't really complain. And yeah, I mean, again, a team. It's one of those. I'm always like a little bit wary of how the team is looking week to week. But if it's doing well and getting green arrows, then I think that's fine. I mean, I've got 2 red arrows in the last 2 weeks, and I think my team looks good personally. So it's not always dependent on how your team's looking. But let's have a look at it for the upcoming week, because I think this is now a tough spot where I have no idea what it's gonna sort of do with itself. Because the CUNHA news is obviously going to be massive. Rodgers is their first bench, but what do you think right now? I mean, by the time this goes live, there may have been a resolution, but the FA have said to CUNHA that he has until Thursday to respond to the disciplinary charge or whatever it is. I don't really know what that means. Do they not just ban him anyway?
Yeah, it's a weird one, and we've seen this happen in the past, and then a player has then received a ban, but it's been a little bit later. It's worth noting that Wolves play Leicester on Sunday, but this ban could come that we're anticipating could come into effect beyond the Gameweek 17 deadline or beyond this fixture. So I guess we have to be patient and see what the AI transfer suggestions are come Friday, when we may have some more news, but maybe not, because I mean, obviously CUNHA feels like a sell anyway, and Wolves assets in general. I know they've obviously going to have a bit of a new manager bounce, you'd hope, but once this Leicester game is out of the way, the fixtures aren't great anyway, and CUNHA hadn't been in form anyway, so it feels like it's a justifiable sell once that comes into effect.
I think the thing is, if you are on CUNHA, you'd want to get away with just holding him for one more week. Because if you do get that new manager bounce, and then we know that Leicester are not a good defence, that could be fine. You can sort of postpone that, like you can delay that move for 1 week and deal with something else perhaps. And then when the ban comes in, I mean, he is going to get banned. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Then you can sell him. It's just whether you can get away with waiting 1 week. And until we know, I suppose the predicted points and the expected minutes aren't really going to change there. Can't really guess if he's going to get banned or not. So looking at the rest of the team, I think the thing to focus on is the defense. Really, defense is what is looking weak. Eight Nuri, of course, picked up that red card after the final whistle, and that has meant that the defense is looking light.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Gabriel and Vardiol are very consistent, but when you've got Greaves and Fez as your options on the bench to come in, neither of those have been getting consistent starts in the last couple of game weeks, which is a concern at the moment. So it feels like if we don't make a transfer in defence this week, then we could be fielding 10 men, which is never good. Luckily, we are flexible because we have got 3 free transfers, but we've only got 0.1 million in the bank. So, you know, it could be that we make just a defensive transfer. If the CUNHA ban comes in, we could be making a couple of transfers. So it's one of those, isn't it? And it's worth noting as well, we're recording this on Tuesday. We've got 8 Premier League teams in action in the League Cup quarterfinals this midweek as well. So there's certainly a lot of moving parts. So I'm pleased we've got a stack of transfers to hopefully fight these fires when it comes down to it.
Well, I've just seen that the team could do CUNHA down to Raul Jimenez and then Greaves up to, I think you can get to Timber. How much is Timber these days? 5.7.
5.7.
You could just, I don't know what the CUNHA's selling price is for the team. Maybe that's close actually. Maybe that's not. I'm not sure because I think CUNHA's selling price. Yeah, I'm sure that CUNHA's selling price will be.
The selling price is 7.
Oh, so we're 0.1 off of doing that. Well, you could do it with Faz actually. Oh no, what's Faz's selling price? That might be 4 as well, actually.
Same, it's 4, yeah.
Oh no. Well, I mean, look, there are options, especially with 3 free transfers. But yeah, I think the thing to mention as well is with Greaves. We were just talking about this off air. The predicted points I don't agree with. I think he has been dropped from that side now, and we know what the manager is like. McKenna's like with the centre backs and how he doesn't like to have any centre-backs on the bench, which I will repeat, I think is absolutely ludicrous, but I'm not a Premier League manager. So I think that his expected minutes do need to be slightly adjusted here. And if they are, then that might cause the AI to have a look at things differently, especially with defensive transfers. Is that fair?
Yeah, because at the moment, this 3.1 prediction for Newcastle at home, that's based on him playing 90 minutes in that game.
Right,
and
okay.
yeah, I'd be very surprised if he starts. These AI predicted points do change throughout the week as it kind of, you feed it more information. So I'm sure once that takes effect, then we'll see a transfer change, whether that be Greaves out or another move, which could be a combination of selling CUNHA and Aït-Nouri. We'll have to wait and see on Friday.
Before we have a look at what the AI is recommending for itself, let's just talk about something that we seem to talk about this every week. Rodgers versus Semenyo once again. It's very close for predicted points. Neither of them have really been that inspiring late. I mean, Rodgers had that goal, that great goal. But apart from that, he's not really done much. Semenyo has got 1 return. What is it? You might know the stat here. It's something like 1 return in 9 or 10 game weeks. So it's not a lot.
Yeah, they've both been frustrating holds, haven't they? And you look, and there's a lot of activity going on in the kind of cheap midfielder price bracket. I mean, I brought in Enzo last week. Ahmad's the most transferred in this week. So there's plenty of options in terms of midfielders priced under 6 million. You also look at Fulham's great fixtures. Iwobi should be in the conversation as well. So the fact that we're still sticking with the likes of Rodgers and Semenyo is a little bit frustrating. And to be fair, I don't mind Morgan Rodgers' fixture this week at home to City, given how poor City have been.
No, I agree with that. But Semenyo is starting. He's 0.2 ahead as it stands.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to go with him. But I mean, that is a bit of a toss-up, really. I mean, I don't really hate United away either. I don't think United have been phenomenal. I know, even I know they won against City, but I mean that was a relatively poor performance, I would say, from both teams. Anyway, let's have a look at the recommended transfers. And the recommendation is to make no transfer this game week, which I suppose makes sense. However, when you look at Greaves' expected minutes, if you bring that down to 0, and I expect him not to play that game, or at least not to start, then we need a defender. So if it's okay with you, I mean, but this is not what we're going to end up doing because we're recording this, as you said, on a Tuesday, and you do this with the team on as close to the deadline as possible on a Friday afternoon, Friday evening. let's do some custom transfers. I don't think we've actually shown this so far this season, but this is a great little part of Fantasy Football Hub's AI tool and AI transfers, is that if you know and your mind is set on something that you want to do, you can sort of implement that into the tool and then get the results fed back out to you, which I like a lot. So just explain sort of what I'm doing here, I suppose, in that I'm sort of force including Greaves here.
Yeah, so you can choose. There's lots of different things you can do in terms of the AI transfers and your custom transfers, but we can force a sell of either Greaves or Eight Nori on the AI transfers, and it will give us a suggestion based on one of those players leaving the team and the best possible replacement. There's other things you can do. You can change the number of transfers, focus on positions. But I think in terms of kind of our issues with the AI team and the transfers we want to make this week, I think that's kind of the most logical.
Sorry, yeah. Selling Eight Nuri, I think, makes the most sense right now just because of that ban and the fact that, I mean, if we were to sell Greaves or Faz, there's not really too many other defenders we could go to with just 0.1 in the bank. Of course, 3 free transfers, yes, but here we go. I've inputted that, and the custom transfer suggestion is to sell Eight Nuri and buy Matty Cash, which is I don't know. What do you think about that? That's quite a fun one. Cash has been doing well recently.
Yeah, and he's a player that I feel like we've been talking about a lot because the AI predictions really favour him. We know from the past just how attacking he can be when he's at his best. I guess you never quite know what position he's going to play in the Aston Villa defence, or even if he's going to be in defence, because it certainly looked against Forest that he was maybe higher up the pitch. You got that goal against Brentford in Gameweek 14. But then he has seen some rotation as well.
Yeah, it's one of those. I'm not entirely sure about it, but he was recommended a few weeks ago, or at least he was high in the defenders list when we look at overall points from the predicted points from the top 10 players in each position. He was doing well there, and I think that then that came to fruition. I think he might even have scored in the next game week. So yeah, interesting move. And let's have a look at how that looks in the team if we were to do that move. He is top of the AI transfer suggestions when I remove Eight Nuri as well. So I mean, this is in theory a sensible pick. Let's make those transfers, and then Cash comes in. City at home, tough, but then after that it's all right. There are a decent number of okay fixtures. Ideally, I would love a rotation here with one of the other defenders, but if you are to have a one-off, that does put the team rating up to 100%, and the team does look strong. So I suppose for now on a Tuesday, can't be too unhappy with that.
Yeah, I mean, 100% team rating, 98% game week rating. It looks good on paper, doesn't it? I mean, captaincy is going to be huge as well because you see both Palmer and Salah there, both on 7.1 predicted points. Obviously, Palmer's going to get the midweek off, whereas Salah isn't. So that's could affect things, but it feels very much like a 50-50 call. And I think a lot of managers are struggling with that decision, and the AI is not really helping us here, is it?
Well, no. And what do you do if they are on the same number of predicted points? How do you decide which one to go for?
Well, at the moment, the computer's saying Captain Palmer.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see if there's any adjustment in those predicted points through the week. Personally, I'll be going Salah. I mean, he's had 7 away games this season, blanked once away at Palace. In the other 6 away games, he's got double-digit hauls in all of them. So there's enough there for me. I trust Liverpool more on the road than I do Chelsea at the moment.
Okay, so there we go. That is the team with Cash in, and it looks decent. And guys, if you would like to do a similar thing to what you've just seen me do, say there's a player that you want to get rid of. Maybe you know in your heart of hearts that he's not the optimal transfer out, but you're just a bit frustrated with him, or you have future plans that you don't think an AI or a model will suggest is the best way of doing things, but you want to do it, then Fantasy Football Hub is a great way of doing this. As always, link down below to sign up. It's still 30-day free trial going on, isn't it?
Yeah, Absolutely.
Every
Go
time
and
we
take
record, I check.
advantage.
Sorry to interrupt, but every time we record, I have to check this with you because I just can't quite believe that it's still going on. But there we go. Sensational deal.
Yeah, you might as well get covered for the next 5 game weeks, test it all out, and then if you're not enjoying it, you can of course cancel, but you will have got all that support for this kind of crazy period where we've got 4 game week deadlines in the next 2 weeks.
Unbelievable. Link down below. Get signed up. If you're still not signed up, then quite frankly, you are a joke. Let's move on to something that I think is interesting here. Forward positions. Sometimes in this video, we look at sort of every position and go through top 10 predicted players for each position over the next 5 game weeks or so. This one, I want to focus on sort of 2 areas in particular, starting with the forwards. I mentioned Jimenez being an option potentially earlier as a CUNHA replacement, but I just want to like sort of hone in on that. Is there any clear, like when we're looking at the forwards, are there any clear sort of names that are definitely the standouts over the next 5 game weeks? And as you just mentioned, that is the busy period here. That is what covers the 30 days if you were to sign up to Fantasy Football Hub. That are the obvious replacements for someone like a CUNHA, maybe someone like a Solanke, slightly out of form players or players that have tougher fixtures.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if you can get to Isak, then he's the most attractive, especially with Ipswich away up next. If you can't and you need to go down and you don't own Chris Wood yet, he's just been so consistent this season. I don't think we need to look at form and fixtures. We just know that he's going to get a couple of big chances every game and hopefully puts one of them away. Chelsea are scoring for fun, but Nicholas Jackson, he's still got that 1 yellow card away from a suspension. And then, in terms of cheap options, you've got João Pedro and you've got Jimenez. Now, João Pedro, the thing that I'm not keen on here is that I feel like he's struggling a bit being the out-and-out number 9. And that Brighton losing at home to Crystal Palace 3-1 came as a bit of a shock. Fulham I prefer because I think they're a better team. But Jimenez, is Muniz going to steal minutes from him over this festive period, especially because he's kind of finding a bit of form from the bench? In my eyes, there's not a perfect replacement. Like I've got CUNHA this week, and if I had to sell him and I'm looking for players cheaper than 7 million and I've already got Chris Wood, I don't really know where to go.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's one of the reasons I sold Jimenez is because I still wasn't sure about his minutes. He has done well since I've sold him, although his numbers haven't been great. But now looking at the fixtures, I think that is probably where I'd go just because of the money saved. It's funny with Brighton.
3 home games.
Yeah, exactly. And they're strong games as well. It's just like Brighton have been poor. Like the actual results have been poor. If you look at who they played in the last 4, and we bought João Pedro in for these great fixtures. It was Southampton, Fulham away, tough fixture. But then it was Leicester away, and then of course the most recent game, Palace at home. And what's he got? I think he's got 1 assist in those games. Is that it? Really not been that good at all.
Really
and Brighton haven't been good. Yeah. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think people are rushing to sell him, but he has moved down the predicted points.
I know, and he was the player that I would have loved to have bought this week because the fixtures are still great. But my mistrust of Brighton now, you've got to look at the form of a team before deciding if you want to invest. And you look at Brighton's recent results, compare that with Fulham's recent results, and it's a contrast in terms of who you want to buy. Like Fulham have had some good results. They drew against Spurs away, they beat Brighton at home, they drew against Arsenal at home, and then they drew away at Liverpool. Like, there's some good results in that same spell. I just don't know how much I back Jimenez's minutes.
That's very fair. Okay, so that's the forwards. I suppose sort of not, well, I mean, all forwards, no one's really looking at Haaland anymore, which is, I suppose, tough, but yeah, City aren't on form at all. And then the next position / sort of area I wanted to look at was just sort of the budget midfielders. We did talk about them, but just in terms of the predicted points of, let's say, £7 million players and below, roughly, or just looking at the sort of general top 10 in midfield, is there any real difference between the likes of a Semenyo, an Enzo, Rodgers, who's still in loads of teams? Ahmad is the really interesting one I think has come to the fore, especially in that last game, and has been very, very good since Amorim came in. Any standout options there, or is it all still much of a muchness?
I mean, the one that jumps out in terms of the predicted points, obviously you've got Mbermo, who's in sixth place. Then you've got Eze. Then you've got Ismail Assar, who has put in some monster hauls this season. Hasn't got that consistency, but that 17-pointer against Brighton, 2 goals, 1 assist. I hadn't actually realised that it was a midfielder in the game. 5.7 million is in 0.4% of teams. It's just consistency, because you look at his 6 attacking returns this season, they've come in 3 games. But like I say, that 3-1 win away at Brighton was huge. And, once they've got Arsenal at home out of the way this weekend, then they've got Bournemouth away and Southampton at home, Chelsea at home, and then Leicester away, West Ham away, Brentford at home. So the fixtures for the medium term look quite good.
Yeah.
So he's an interesting one. He obviously, its underlying numbers must be good for the AI to really be favouring him above other options around this price bracket, because your Enzos, your Amads aren't getting into the top 10. You're kind of looking 15 to 20 by the time you get to that Semenyo, Iwobi, Amad territory in the predicted points overall for midfielders.
That is interesting. Yeah, it's not really one that I've thought of at all. But just when you're going through the fixtures there, I'm thinking for a Palace side that probably are going to look to counter in a relatively high number of games. They're not a controlling team that's going to look to get dominate a game and have 60% plus possession. Bournemouth away is good. Chelsea at home, really good. Leicester away, probably really good. West Ham away, probably really good. And then within all of that, you have Southampton at home and Brentford at home. Looks very good for maybe a Sar over someone like an Eze. I mean, that might be a debate that we get to in a game week or so time, especially if they have a good result against Arsenal. I mean, who knows what could happen there? They're clearly in good form at the moment. But yeah, interesting stuff. Not a name that I've thought of, but yeah, I'm surprised to see him so high here. He's third in the list of predicted points over the next 4 game weeks, which is what you can see on screen here, for players that are 7.7 million and below. Impressive stuff. Would you consider him at all? You got your eye on a Palace midfielder?
I feel like my midfield's quite set at the moment.
Okay.
But if I was buying a midfielder, I think I'd maybe look to an Iwobi first, or an Amad or an Enzo. I feel like you've got to be bullish on kind of just how good Chelsea have been, and their fixtures still look really nice as well.
Okay, fair enough. I think, Holly, that's going to do it for this one, unless I've missed anything glaring.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, good. I seem to ask this at the end of every video now, just to make sure that we've not missed anything that's going to get in the comments of people going, "Oh my god, the video was amazing, guys. Don't worry, and you both look so good in it, but you missed this one glaring issue."
I need to look at the comments more clearly.
No, sorry, those are comments from me. Got to make that abundantly clear. But yes, thank you, Holly, as always. Very insightful. Let's see what the AI team ends up doing when we have much more information. Cunha's ban, potential minutes changing for Greaves. And as always, that will be updated on Fantasy Football Hub's website. So if you do want to keep track of the AI team through Christmas, and I know a lot of you guys out there might be thinking, oh, I'm a bit of a hater of the AI team, or I love it and I want to see what's going on with it. No matter what you think, it is interesting. It's a cool sort of experiment, seeing what a model can do in 2024, 2025 in Fantasy Premier League. So yeah, either one, I'm always interested to see how many points it got and the transfers for next week. Thank you, Holly. Let's see how the team does. And yeah, good luck to everyone this game week.